You probably don't want issues like this to contend with. Infertility, testicular dysgenesis. You probably don't want to be overweight. You don't want to have asthma, maybe allergies, and the big C word there. Well, these nasty ass chemicals, they're a big problem. So not only do you have to know what they are to detox them, and I'll show you how to do that, you also have to understand that over the years, if you had a bit of gut issues, liver issues, instead of detoxing these nasty ass chemicals, but also mold and heavy metals, they are being stored in your tissues and organs. And our world is just full of this shit now. We can't hide from it. So if you want your energy back and your testosterone back, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that here today. So first, I want to play this video. This is me and Dr. J back in 2020. And when I read this in his book, Estrogen-mimicking, I couldn't believe it. I was just absolutely thunderstruck. Parabens in human fat cells, 17,400 nanograms per gram in a study in 2015. So what does that mean? Well, these nasty ass chemicals, they're cytotoxic. Telomere attrition, accelerated aging, which leads to genotoxicity, cancer, reproductive toxicity, and everything that I mentioned there earlier. So the issue for a lot of people is that they have been stored in their tissues and organs and their fat cells. So when they're trying to get lean and muscular, these chemicals that mimic estrogen and cause all of that shit there, they come out into the blood and you are absolutely crushed. Your energy is crushed. Your detox is crushed. You are crushed. But there is a solution. I'm going to give you that here today. So, number one, we have to eliminate these chemicals from our life. We have to increase methylation because that is the key to detoxing. Then we have to increase our detox systems and then have A-grade cells. And as we progress, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this and what you need to do. Here's this video from Dr. J, and this is back in 2020. So in a nutshell, these chemicals mimic estrogen, and they ain't too friendly for your longevity and your health. So listen to this.
More than your fat cells.
Oh yeah, all of them, a lot of them.
All of them. All right. So let me just create this scenario. So you've decided that you want to lose weight, and you've decided to do that. You start losing a bit of body fat, and all these estrogens are liberated into the fat cells. And I saw a research paper that you showed that some human fat cells have got, I think, 16,000, is that right, nanograms in the fat cells. Oh, yeah. So basically, you're flooding your blood with all this estrogen. What's going to happen then? Testosterone, free testosterone goes down. So your brain doesn't work properly. It's like, you lose your will to do the diet, and it makes muscle preservation harder. It makes fat loss harder. It makes everything harder. And you're fighting this, trying to lose weight, and you've got all these estrogens being flooded into the system. Is that a fair call?
Oh yeah, you got it exactly. I mean, I can tell you read the book carefully. I appreciate that, and that's a huge epiphany, even for me when I was kind of going through this process and learning about this, writing the book. And the average life of a fat cell is 1.5 years, which they've discovered from these atomic bomb studies. There where people got exposed to radiation, but they found fat cells that can survive in your body 10 years. And so if you're loading up these fat cells with all these estrogen chemicals, yeah. And so if you're loading the fat cells with estrogen chemicals, those chemicals are sitting in the cell saying, hey, hang on to fat. Don't get rid of fat, right? So on top of all this problems with demotivation, with empathy, all that stuff you talked about with lower testosterone, which is true, then the fat cells also don't want to get rid of the fat. And then even if they do, they're, it's dumping more of this blood, and it's just a vicious cycle. So it causes a lot of weight gain plateaus, and that's where the sauna actually comes in. People look for practical ideas to accelerate this.
Sauna's not a bad tool, but I'm going to give you a very comprehensive detox plan. So we got to make sure that these antioxidant pathways in your body, not a dumbass lemon detox, but your body can do this when you give it the right signal and the right stuff. So step number one is to identify where this shit is. Personal care products, and I'll show you where to get the detox plan, petrochemicals in your clothes, toxic fry pans, big food, it's in there everywhere. The air is polluted, but when you get to a place when not a lot of them are coming in, you can easily detox the air pollution. They're in all fucking shitty foods, big food, boxed food, fast food. So your daily load is fucking huge and you can't detox them. So they're stored. DNA damage. You can't detox. And most people think, oh, this is just life. And we're told by the dumbass system that as you age, you are on the decline. Now, if you want to believe that bullshit, then, that's up to you. But I can tell you unequivocally, when you know how to detox, that's an unfair advantage. So the goal is to identify where they are, and we've got to have superior cellular protection. And you'll understand when I get to that part of the training about midway through why that's really important. I'll show you exactly what to do, your very first step to getting that right. And of course, we have to detox the fat cells in the organs by enhancing the detox systems in that linear fashion. Now, you do need to have good gut health and immune health, and I'll talk about that towards the end. Methylation needs to be on point, and your circadian rhythm, because it's part of the detox system. One detox system is in the morning through the circadian rhythm, and the other one is at nighttime. They work synergistically. Now, what I can tell you is our tap water is big toxic. It's got lots of shit in it. We've done extensive research on all these chemicals. We know where they are, and we know exactly what they're doing inside your body, and they're not helpful. Now, in your water, they allow compounds like atrazine, which potently mimics estrogen, and it causes a lot of deleterious health outcomes, DNA damage, so on and so forth. And this is me and Dr. J just speaking about. Check this out.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, atrazine is got to be up there, depending if it's legal, right? And in Europe, it's totally illegal. 0 is allowed in the drinking water. In America, I mean, they allow 3,000 nanograms per liter in our drinking water.
What does that actually mean in the body?
Yeah, exactly. So our natural estrogen is about 20 for men, 20 nanograms per liter.
So 3,000, they're mimicking the estrogen. We need about, anywhere from, say, 20 to 40. And you need the testosterone to estrogen to be at the right ratio. Now, this is what happens. I mean, this is incredible. Check this out.
Really crazy about that. If you have a frog, if you put a male frog in 300 nanograms per liter of drinking water, and again, just put 300 of atrazine in there, excuse me. Yeah. That male frog turns into a female. And
wow. I mean,
and we're drinking 3,000,
3,000.
So clearly you have to filter your drinking water. I mean,
3,000 fake estrogen chemicals shutting your testosterone down, causing all of those deleterious health outcomes. And it's not just atrazine, it's also PFOAs. Check this out. This is mainstream media. At least they're starting to report it here in Australia. Thank God for that. Check it out.
Experts are calling for more widespread testing of our tap water for levels of chemicals considered likely to be cancer-causing. It follows US authorities lowering what they consider to be acceptable and setting new standards.
They're called forever chemicals, thousands of substances under the banner PFAS. And when it comes to drinking water, the US EPA is now proposing a lower acceptable limit.
Yeah, so not helpful at all. So these nasty ass chemicals like phthalates, check this out. Personal care products, medical devices, pacemakers, pharmaceuticals. Yeah, you heard that right. And they're all fast food. They put them in this shit. And guess what else? These pharmaceuticals, like Tylenol here, anti-androgenic. They lower testosterone. And I'll show you why on this screen. I'll come back to that. But in a nutshell, when you take these pharmaceuticals, they're petrochemicals that mimic estrogen. So you take them, your body thinks it's got too much estrogen, so it shuts down testosterone production until the liver detoxes it. So you can see the problem there. But as they've now shown, these anti-androgenic chemicals, that a pregnant woman, that's right, I said a woman, if she's exposed to these fucking nasty ass chemicals, irreversible demasculinizing consequences. And that's kind of what we're seeing, aren't we? So in a nutshell, these chemicals mimic estrogen, lower testosterone, and screw up your metabolism, your thyroid. So for a lot of dudes, their testosterone's tanking. And this is Dr. Amy B. Keelan and me in 2020. And I asked Dr. Amy B. Keelan, so she's a leading expert in sexual performance and longevity. And I said, Dr. Amy, what are the consequences of men with suboptimal T as they age? This is what she said.
It's also things that are even more important. You know, we know that men who have lower testosterone levels, they tend to have higher mortality rates in general. So all-cause mortality is higher in men with the lowest quartile of testosterone levels. So we're going to see increases in things like cardiovascular disease. So heart attacks, strokes are going to go up generally if you have low testosterone, increased diabetes, increased obesity, increased problems with mood disorders, depression, insomnia, anxiety. All of that goes up as you have lower testosterone levels. And then certainly sexual dysfunction. So everything from low libido to low sperm counts and infertility are all associated with low testosterone. So it's not something that we should just brush off as being like, it's no big deal. Like, it's kind of a big deal. It actually means that our men are getting less and less healthy, and they're more and more likely to suffer from some kind of disease problem.
Wow. And towards the end, I'll show you that your testosterone is not supposed to decline as you age. And I've done videos here on YouTube about that. I've spoken about it so many times, it's not even funny. So never back the idea that you're a sinking fucking ship. You can fix this. Might take a bit of time. So here is one of the detox boosters. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, we got detox systems that spark up in the morning and that spark up at nighttime. So I'm going to talk about this one here. Now, the requirements for this one to be actually working is you need to be methylating, and I'll talk about that as we progress. You need to have healthy mitochondria. Again, I'll talk about that as we progress. Gut health and circadian rhythm. It is dependent. This system is dependent on those being optimal. That's the requirements. So when you get this right, you've got less endoplasmic reticulum. Think sex hormone production, lipids, cholesterol, all those things, and proteins. And this is a true cellular cleansing, autophagy. That's the garbage, man. It's upregulated. Then you got these anti-inflammatory genes being upregulated. This system here, TXN, antioxidant system, it's protecting your proteins. Your heart is a protein. You know, your liver, a protein. You can see how important that is. Heme and iron metabolism. Mitochondrial biogenesis, back over here, really important. And then the master antioxidant glutathione. This is what's taking care of oxidative stress, especially in the liver. And then the NADPH system. So if it's out, you can't digest your food, you can't make hormones. And then all these detoxification pathways go up. Now, I did a video last week all about this. So when you wake up in the morning, it's low. And you can boost it over here somewhere in about 60 to 90 minutes. So that one should be linked below. But again, you've got to make sure all of these are optimal. Now, a way that you can check to make sure you are methylating is what's called homocysteine. So homocysteine is basically a metric for methylation. So when homocysteine is up, glutathione is down. So you can see how that's a problem. So it doesn't matter what you do, this detox system here won't work optimally unless you are methylating. Long-term consequences, let's talk about it. DNA damage, neurodegeneration, the old C word there, chronic disease, heart disease, accelerated aging. You look old and you feel old. And this study was done with otherwise healthy middle-aged Australians. As you can see there, not cool. And when your homocysteine is up, your glutathione will be low. So you can pause that screen, but your brain's going to suffer. Like even things like ADHD, ADD, cardiovascular disease, performance issues in the bedroom. And again, for cardiovascular disease, they blame cholesterol. Then your metabolism tanks and your thyroid, pancreas. So your pancreas releases digestive enzymes so you can actually digest your food. Otherwise, you're going to get food sensitivities. Immune and the big C word there, like even asthma, lupus, allergies, acne, arthritis. Over here, inflammatory skin conditions, accelerated aging, chronic fatigue. It is a fucking shit show, gut issues. So when methylation isn't working, this compound called SAMe goes down, your homocysteine goes up, your glutathione goes down, and your ability to detox heavy metals, molds, plastics, and chemicals is heavily diminished. So instead of getting rid of them as they're coming in, your body and your fat cells are stirring the sons of bitches. You picking up on what I'm laying down? So think about it like this. A lifetime load of poor methylation increases homocysteine. So what we want to do is lower that by optimizing nutrient status. And another thing to consider about high homocysteine, and again, they blame cholesterol for this shit, but look, here's just one driver. High homocysteine injures the artery wall. See that there? That's a lesion. See this here? Plaque. Yeah, and they blame cholesterol. Fruit Loops, and it gets worse with homocysteine, destroys your mitochondria. So let's unpack that. So when your mitochondria aren't working too well, and I'll just show you this here. This is cool. So this is a heart cell, and these yellow lines there, when I press the play button, that's your mitochondria. All right. So you see these small weak ones? They are mutated small weak mitochondria in your heart cell. So your heart cell has about 10,000 mitochondria. I mean, it's just incredible. And again, these Fruit Loops, they fucking blame cholesterol. Now, when your mitochondria go through this thing called heteroplasmy, the DNA becomes mutated, they get small and weak, and it leads to these diseases: migraines and headaches, ataxia, dementia, seizures, psychosis, and depression, strokes, and then heart disease, and they blame cholesterol. Kidney disease, which increases your blood pressure, which further drives heart disease. Then your hormones, testosterone taps out. And what are you getting replaced? Too much estrogen. And your thyroid as well. Then over here, myopathy. What does that mean? So you got tired, weak, aching muscles. So it could be your mitochondria. And you think you need a massage and move your neck around. Well, maybe it's not that at all. And then neuropathy, which isn't a good thing. Pins and needles, sciatica, carpal tunnel, all of those issues, numbness in your extremities, gut issues, liver issues. You can't even detox when your mitochondria are weak. So we've got to make sure these sons of bitches are healthy as fuck. Hearing and eyesight. So you can see we need to optimize the mitochondria. And again, methylation is one of the keys. So here is a list of what the mitochondria do. So as far as the mitochondria is concerned, it's all about energy. So, you know, you got trillions and trillions of cells, and they've got mitochondria in there making your energy, your ATP. Now, what I find remarkable is that they are a necessary step to making neurotransmitters, cognition, good mood. Wow. They're a necessary step to make your man juice, your testosterone. They're repairing RNA, DNA, lipids. So you want to get lean and muscular, where your body fat goes into the mitochondria in a process called beta oxidation. You get lean. Protein synthesis, muscle building. Now, it's not just muscle building. Our body is a protein machine. Over here, gene expression requires protein synthesis. So one of the most important things I believe and my team believes that they do is they communicate with cells, systems, and organs in your body for high performance. Central nervous system, cognition, divergent, convergent thinking, remote associations, metacognition, and also sports performance. Mitochondria, really important. Gut health, intestines and the microbiome, circadian system. So if it is out, they will suffer. Metabolic systems, detox, exactly what we're talking about here, and the immune system. And as I mentioned, gene expression, epigenetic pathways, and cell fate. Now, when I get to A grade cells, you'll understand why that is really important if you want to look young and feel young as you age. Now, the system that takes over at nighttime is melatonin. Look at what it does. In the circadian system, if it's out, you won't make a lot of melatonin. And I've done videos on this, it should be linked below, about how to make sure your circadian rhythm is working beautifully, and it's not fucking difficult. This is easy. So neuroinflammation, brain inflammation, down. So you wake up the next morning ready for great work. Healthy cholesterol, cholinergic system, think rest and digest, anti-anxiety, rest and recovery. Neurogenesis, so everything you learned the previous day, it's encoded into your brain. Cognition, neurogenesis. And again, A-grade cells, anti-aging, I'll talk about that shortly. And mitochondrial dysfunction, down. So you can see how important circadian rhythm is and sleep. Homeostatic balance of calcium. So some cardiac surgeons, when someone's had a heart attack, will put them on calcium blockers. So how important is that? Then healthy insulin. So when you got hyperinsulinemia, big problem. It's a lot of metabolic diseases associated with that. Really bad. And it also is the garbage service for your brain. Tau plaques, toxic proteins, beta amyloids. Now, when your circadian system is out, you got shitty emotions, anxiety, frustration, all of that shit. Your cognition tanks, so you can't do good work, and chronic health conditions. We're talking daytime sleepiness. Sound familiar? Then you've got cardiovascular disease, and these fucking ass clowns blame cholesterol. Altered stress response, altered sensory thresholds, infections, lowered immunity, cancer, metabolic abnormalities, the mitochondria, diabetes, depression, and even psychosis. So when your circadian system is out, accelerated aging. So mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, and life expectancy goes down. So let's talk about this here, cellular senescence. This is cool. So I'm going to give you the steps to get A-grade cells, and we'll talk about why that's really important. So when you're born, you have 15,000 base pairs in your DNA on things called chromosomes, and it's called the telomeres. So your telomeres hold the base pairs. So 15,000 when you're born. Now, unfortunately, with inappropriate cell division through apoptosis, accelerated aging, you're losing your telomere length and your base pairs. Consequences, you hit 70 and you've only got 4,000 left. Stop and think about that. You don't have a lot of life left to live. You look old, you feel old, and you can't remember anything. So what we have to do is stop the inappropriate cell division, trigger telomerase, which lengthens your telomeres, increasing your base pairs, and then activate stem cell production. Now, stem cells come out with a full complement of 15,000 base pairs that repair diseased tissues and organs. Remarkable. Now, what you want to think about is all your cells are protected by this bilayer. So all the cells have organelles like the mitochondria. So we got to have a very powerful cell membrane. And to show you why this is important, cellular senescence, losing your base pairs. And again, the ass clowns blame cholesterol. Cardiovascular disease, plaque in your arteries, atherosclerosis, coronary artery disease, stroke, peripheral artery disease, heart failure. And they blame cholesterol, ass clowns. And of course, telomere attrition, losing your base pairs, Alzheimer's, memory issues, So one thing that's really important for brain function is what's called myelination. So on your brain, you got these myelin sheaths, and so you got the soma, the cell, down the axon to the dendrites, goes to the next brain cell and the next brain cell. So if they are damaged, the myelin sheath, it's like you're mid-sentence and it's like, I've lost my train of thought. And then worst case scenario, things like MS, ALS. Right, not good. Now, we've tested genetically over 350 dudes now, and we're finding that over 60% are sensitive to a category of foods called lectins. When I went through and did my training with Datus, I took his gut health, his immune health, his brain health, thyroid, food sensitivities, and what I learned going through that training in autoimmune disease is that these lectins can cross the blood-brain barrier, destroy the myelin sheath. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that they inhibit the growth factor for remyelination. And this is Dr. J, my advisor. And when you got a sensitivity to lectins, it's not just the myelin sheath, it's a lot of other things too. Listen to this.
The lectin is the big one. That's a 4-fold higher risk of heart disease, even as a plus minus, the SELE.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So lectins are going to trigger a lot of damage to the arteries and damage to the gut. I would recommend avoiding grains.
Yeah.
You know, grains are the major source of lectins.
Yeah.
And his gut's very sensitive to grains also, with the gluten. And he's got a thyroid gene that comes up later with gluten as well. So I would say just take off the grains, you know.
So this is why not one diet fits all. Now let's just quickly talk about autoimmune disease. This is something that I had. You know, around about 7 and a bit years ago, I was in an undiagnosed inflammatory autoimmune disease. I had 5 shoulder surgeries and asthma that nearly killed me. My pop, when I was 16 years old, he died of an asthma attack. And in 2017, that's what I thought was going to happen to me. So I pivoted. I went down the functional medicine route. So when I went through and did my training with Datus on autoimmune disease, I was shocked, to say the least. Listen carefully to this and I'll show you what that means. This is incredible.
Now, the healthcare system is only designed to look for stage 3. They don't do antibodies in the initial stages. Insurance companies don't pay for antibodies in the early stages. And even though the research has shown that antibodies can be predictive for autoimmune diseases, it's not part of routine healthcare. So there's a gap between what research finds and then what actually gets implemented in the healthcare system. So if you're walking into your insurance model, healthcare model, there's going to be no effort or diagnostic testing even approved designed to look for these early antibodies that will determine if you have autoimmunity. And because of that, many people suffer for years and years and years before they get diagnosed because they're not in stage 3 where they have full tissue destruction. So that's the concept of autoimmunity stages. Stage 1, silent, just the antibodies, no symptoms. Stage 2, they start to have symptoms for whatever tissue is being attacked by their immune system. And stage 3, they fully progress into a disease process. Remember I showed you those statistics in the first part of the course where they showed 50 million people may have autoimmune disease, or 4% of the world population may have it, or 12% of women has autoimmune disease. Those are all in reference to stage 3. If you actually look at the numbers of people that are in stage 1 or 2, the numbers would be much, much higher.
Asthma, autoimmune disease, my shoulder surgeries, autoimmune disease. Now you can have elevated antibodies with no symptoms yet. All of a sudden, you believe the bullshit and the gaslighting of the system. You're just getting older. Oh, you got brain fog. You're just getting older. Your testosterone is coming down. Oh, you're just getting older. Bullshit. Then over here, you got more elevated antibodies with symptoms, but when you go to your doctor, there's no clinically noticeable loss of tissue. So they do nothing. And they wait until it looks like you've got an autoimmune disease process. And a lot of times it's too late. Why do you think that is? Right here, which leads me to this. If you pick up this book called Toxic Legacy by Stephanie Seneff, she's got a PhD from MIT. Now, she's a grandmother. She's got a daughter, and her daughter's got kids with autism. And she thought, well, that's odd. So she did some research, like 10 years of research, and she wrote in her book, and it floored me when I read it. And it made a lot of sense to me because I was in this process and I had no clue. I was told this was normal. When you follow the money, you realize that the pharmaceutical industry and most of the medical establishment make the bulk of their profits from treating symptoms of chronic disease. All right, so down here, making bank on your suffering. Now, this clip is from Shark Tank.
Joe, let me ask you a question. Why not just go license it to one of the big drug companies?
Because I did that originally. I went to one of the biggest in the United States, and they told me we were actually a competitor, and if they took the product, they would shelf it. Because why would they prevent it for $1 when they could treat it for 14?
Why would they prevent it for $1 when they can treat it for $14 for life? Well, it's their business model. You know, think about it like this. If you count non-stop, every second non-stop for 24/7, 1.6 million, 18.5 days, 1.6 trillion, 50,000 years. So here's another superior building material that you need to push in the up direction, especially for brain health and gut health. It's called plasmagens, really important for cognition. All right, plasmagens. Now, plasmagens, you can get them from marine, like crustaceans, so number one. And guess what? The omega-3s, which I'll talk about shortly, are the precursors. Ethanolamine, DHA, ethanolamine, EPA, omega-3s. So they're the precursors. Now, they're created in the peroxisomes. I'll show you that in a moment. Now, they are super important because they're incorporated into all of your cells in the cell membrane. So important for cognition and so many different things. Brain health, mitochondria, testosterone production, and myelination, and gut barrier protection. A lot of people have a very sick gut. So let's just talk about myelination. So here's a brain cell. Remember, it's got about, in the prefrontal cortex here, about 10,000 mitochondria. So lots of mitochondria, they're working hard for your brain. So this is the myelin sheath. Now, if it starts to degrade, then you got to replace it. So you need healthy cholesterol, myelin sheath, 25 to 30%. Methylation, so if you're not methylating, you're not going to create a lot of these phospholipids to remyelinate the myelin sheath, 30 to 40%. And plasmagens, 15 to 20%. So plasmagens, this is why you need superior cellular protection. So the mitochondria we need, these are organelles within your cells. The peroxisomes, so cell membrane, that's what we need to protect. Lysosomes, so that's your autophagy, the cellular cleansing, lysosomes. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum and the rough endoplasmic reticulum, they're another organelles, the Golgi apparatus, and the nucleus. So all of those things need to have superior cellular production. So let's just have a look at these organelles called the peroxisomes. So genetically, we're seeing a few of the people that we're helping have low plasmagen production. So that's a big problem, as you can now appreciate. So the peroxisomes make your plasmagens. Now, the interesting thing is that if you're under emotional stress, too much physical stress, or chemical stress, heavy metal stress, mold stress, the plasmagens need to be about 20%. If you're under any of that stress, it drops to about 10%, and it can happen as quickly as 24 to 72 hours. So we need a constant turnover of these plasmagens. So when you've got superior cellular protection, that's what's going to happen. Let's quickly talk about these omegas. So EPA and DHA, they go into the cell itself, and they trigger these PPARs, this genetic pathway. So what that does is a genetic switch to increase the number of peroxisomes. So when your omega index is optimal, and I'll talk about how to do that in a moment, you're going to create a lot of peroxisomes, and you've got the precursors to make plasmagens. So you've got to think of this as superior cellular health. So in the caption below, I've got a link to get this test done. And for a lot of people, like we've tested so many men, and they're normally here, right? They're not making a lot of plasmagens. They don't have superior cellular protection. So this is me, and I've been doing this for years and years and years, and it stays there, right on the edge of the healthy zone, 11.9. But this person here, really bad. And it goes beyond that, the omega index, because today's Western diet, you got way too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, which leads to and promotes the pathogenesis of many diseases. including cardiovascular, the big C, inflammatory and autoimmune disease. So as you can see here, no good. Over here, optimal. And in all of your cells, this cell membrane there, EPA, the omega-3, is incorporated into the cell membrane, and it blocks lipid peroxidation and cellular senescence, losing your base pairs. And as this study shows, EPA, but not vitamin E, inhibits the oxidization of ApoB and other lipid particles, including LDL. So as you can see there, it is important to get your omega index checked to find out where it is. And it's really, really simple to do. And guess what else the omegas do? They reduce telomere attrition, so you're keeping your base pairs. So I hope you can appreciate now that you need to be eating the right foods to have A-grade cells. So we talked about a few things there. So when you get this right, you're going to have consistent energy. You're going to have testosterone for life. You're going to find it very easy to get the ideal body weight. And because you've got superior cellular protection, your cells aren't dividing through inappropriate apoptosis and attrition, so you're keeping your base pairs. And if you know how to trigger telomerase to lengthen your base pairs, your telomeres there, there's no reason why you can't get to, say, 70 with at least 8,000 base pairs left instead of 4,000. So I hope that's connected a few dots for you. Now, I just want to talk about big food because it's a big problem. So in big food, they've got all these endocrine disrupting chemicals, which can increase your incidence of atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, asthma, 50 times more free radicals, endocrine disorders, and they also shorten your telomeres. Back up here, right? Big food is big toxic. So what do? I'll talk about what to do in a moment. But guess what else? Like these chemicals, they're toxic to your testosterone. Phthalate-induced testicular mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, your mitochondria are what's making your testosterone. Now, this is Dr. Amy B. Keelan, and she's talking about erectile dysfunction and what actually drives it. Listen to this.
These cells within the penis, these smooth muscle cells, begin to die. This is called apoptosis. Apoptosis happens for a number of reasons, but once you lose about 15% of the cells within here, all of a sudden you lose the ability to expand completely. You can still expand, and you can still have an erection, but it's not a full erection. And so when that happens, you've got your tunica, but those veins are staying open. So the blood comes in, but the blood then goes right back out of these open veins because you haven't expanded fully and you don't have a full erection. Does that make sense? So this is called venous leak, CVOD, but it's not a vein problem. It's actually a problem with the cells inside the corpora cavernosa. These cells, these smooth muscle cells, are the problem. Now, what causes these cells to die? Oxidative stress of some sort. So things that cause inflammation and oxidative stress can increase the death of these cells. So that could be just age, but it also could be poor lifestyle choices. It could be diabetes or high blood pressure. It could be a high sugar diet. It could be not exercising. Also, low testosterone over time could do that.
What is the penis? It's a smooth muscle. What does testosterone build up? Muscle. So over here again, oxidative stress, these fucking big food nasties, 50 times more. Telomere attrition, you've got 4,000 base pairs left. So if you want to risk it with big food, more power to you. I'm certainly not. So what we've learned so far is that superior cellular protection is going to help protect your mitochondria. Now, Professor Doug Wallace, about 5 decades of research on the mitochondria, he says that every 10 years, you can go through what's called 10% heteroplasmy every 10 years. So heteroplasmy is mutated DNA in the mitochondria, which isn't good. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is they go through this process called fission, resulting in small damaged mitochondria. So if you want to protect your mitochondria, you got to do things right. And when it comes to the mitochondria, too much food, glucose, sedentary lifestyle, inflammation, loneliness, so you're a bit anxious and shit, chemical agents, pharmaceutical drugs, you're picking up on what I'm laying down. And again, They blame heart disease. It's telomere attrition, as you can see, plaque in your arteries, athero, coronary artery disease, stroking out, peripheral artery disease, heart failure. I mean, you just can't make this shit up. So in a nutshell, when you got superior cellular strength, you're going to kick ass. Now, just to show you how testosterone is made and to show you what you're missing out on, every 2 hours, you got this thing in your brain called the pulse generator. It releases the gonadotropins. What are the gonadotropins? LH, testosterone. FSH, spermagenesis, fertility. So every 2 hours, providing you got good detox, energy pathways are open, your brain makes these gonadotropins, they go in the blood, they make their way to the ball sac, your testes. So this is a little dig cell inside your ball sac. LH binds the receptor, they go in through this energy pathway. So if you don't have a lot of energy, no testosterone for you every 2 hours. Now you need good blood flow. So if you're not methylating your homocysteine's up, you won't have good blood flow. Then healthy cholesterol is imported into, you guessed it, the mitochondria. Cholesterol is enzymatically converted in the mitochondria to pregnenolone, exported out, progesterone, androstenediol, then your free T every 2 hours. So, like, here's some tests you can do. Like I mentioned homocysteine there. But, you know, beyond that, if you're finding it really difficult, you can do methylation tests. And it's going to show you exactly where your energy production is failing you. So the mitochondria in your hepatocytes, your liver, detoxing you. They're in your brain, giving you good cognition. In your ball sac, making testosterone. You see, glutathione is down because homocysteine's up. ALA is down, some of the B vitamins. And once you know that, you can fix it. Really, really simple. So what I also want to just mention is gut health is really, really important. And again, when I went through and did my training with Datus, I was blown away when I found how impactful too much stress is in your life, whether that's emotional stress, chemical stress, or physical stress. You know, paradoxically, that's going to lower your thyroid and your testosterone. So listen to what he's got to say. This is huge.
Chronic stress responses, more cortisol levels go up. That can really promote intestinal permeability. Any type of, and this is a diagram where we get into stress responses. So whether it's chemical stress, physical stress, you activate the stress response. The activation of the stress response really leads to decreased blood flow to the gut, an inability to regenerate intestinal cells, suppress intestinal immunity, a main immunoglobulin gut called sector IgA goes down, and those things start to promote leaky gut. So stress is a big factor. Hormonal issues, thyroid, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, those all have an impact on slowing down the regeneration of gut healing. So significant hormone insufficiencies can make it harder to heal a leaky gut. So when someone has hypothyroidism or estrogen deficiency or testosterone deficiency, progesterone deficiency, if they don't have those hormones, they may not be able to dampen the inflammatory response in their gut. Hormones are really critical for damping inflammation in the gut, and they also are important for regenerating the intestinal lining.
Yeah, so emotional stress, physical stress, overtraining the gym, chemical stress, heavy metal stress, mold stress, plastics, all of that shit is going to destroy your gut. And when your gut's destroyed, you got these issues: gut-brain axis, more stress, more anxiety and depression because you're fatigued, IBS. And a lot of people have a sick gut and they just brush it off. You know, a bit of constipation, a bit of diarrhea here. That's an issue. Should be consistent. Bit of bloating, bit of distension, bit of gut pain. That's an issue. You got problems. You need to fix it. Can lead to things like schizophrenia, even autism, cognitive decline, you know, dementia. So your endocrine axis, your testosterone's fucked. Then atherosclerosis. Again, they blame cholesterol. Idiots. Why don't they check your gut? Answer me that. Why don't they check your gut? Because they don't know how. Then over here, well, I know why. Because it's their business model to prescribe you drugs. And then your lungs, like asthma nearly killed me. Think allergies and shit like that. Sinus. Liver, you can't even detox. So your gut sick, you can't even detox these nasty ass chemicals, plastics, heavy metals, molds. Pancreas, diabetes, blood sugar. And also, they release digestive enzymes. If you're not digesting your food, destroys your gut. Bones, issues there. Muscle. So you think you're doing everything right in the gym, you can't put on the muscle and you just never get results. It gets worse because sarcopenia can set in 40, 50, 60, muscle wasting, frailty as you age. Skin issues, including advanced skin aging and wrinkles, also acne, cirrhosis, atopic dermatitis, eczema, and your ball sack, hypogonadism. Kidneys, bladder, thyroid, eyes, everything has an axis. So as you can see there, that needs to be optimized. Now, when it comes to liver detox, you've got to make sure you got good methylation and vitamin status. Next week, I'm going to talk about how to do that. Now, link below, I've got the detox protocol. So you put your name and email in there, and every single week I'll be sending you out information. So the first one will be, what is busted inside you, your symptomology, things like that. And then the detox, how to do the detox. Then we'll talk about gut health and all of that. And I'll also send you out information I give to my private clients. Right? I can't post this stuff on YouTube here because they don't like this kind of information. So they'll either censor it or they'll just turn down the volume on. I want to help as many people as I can get this right. Like if you're lacking choline, you can't detox. If you're lacking the B vitamins and C, you can't detox. If your methylation's not working, you won't make a lot of glutathione, you can't detox. Are you picking up on what I'm laying down? Now, one thing that I want to also talk about right here, you're not broken, you're not lazy, and you sure as hell aren't weak. You just haven't figured this out yet. I've posted this many, many times here on YouTube. The system is busted. They will tell you that as you age, your testosterone declines and you decline. That is gaslighting at its finest. This is Professor Huberman. Before I actually play this video, we've helped several guys in their 60s optimize their testosterone. So think of testosterone as a metric for your longevity, because when it's up, you are healthy. When it's down, you aren't healthy. Your body is screaming at you saying, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. But because you go to your doctor and you believe the bullshit that they say, they tell you, no, it declines. No, your memory declines. No, you get old fast. No, you pack on the fat. Never, and I mean never back that idea. I am 54 in 7 days and I have never felt better. So this is Huberman.
Talked about the fact that if you really look at the data, just for instance on testosterone, there are men in their 90s, and they are not rare, it turns out, that are making as much testosterone and DHT, dihydrotestosterone, as they were in their 20s.
Yeah. So it's possible. So never back the idea that you are on the decline, because if you do, you will be. If you don't pay attention and fix this very first step, you will be on the decline. You see how nasty those chemicals are. Now, when I heard that, I was like, that can't be right. So I heard this years and years ago. So what did I do? I asked my advisor, Dr. J, and he did a 5-year PhD on sex hormones. And this is what he said.
Said that there's men in their 90s, and you see this isn't rare, and they've got as much testosterone and dihydrotestosterone as they did in their 20s.
Oh, yeah. It's true.
Yep.
It's surprising how little it goes down with age.
Yep.
If you optimize your health.
So it's possible. And the nutritional advice we've been given doesn't optimize us. And then we get to 40, 50, and they give us drugs, prescription medications.
Makes it even worse.
That bring down testosterone and make it worse.
Yeah. It's not thriving. It's definitely suboptimal. It's frustrating, honestly. I mean, especially on the topic of testosterone, because if your testosterone goes down, just your health in general goes down. So that opens the door to a bunch of prescription drugs. And so the pharma companies are very excited about keeping your testosterone down from a financial perspective. As a business model, it's a good idea for them to keep your testosterone low. You don't want to be in that category.
Yes, never back that idea. Me and my team have also helped 5 men get off testosterone replacement therapy. So if you want to have a conversation with me about how we can optimize you, get you there super fast, no guesswork whatsoever, There's information below in the caption to book a call with me. You jump on that call with me and I'll show you exactly how we can help you based on your symptomology. So what I want to really just drive home here now is that if you're not detoxing, you're still on these chemicals and they're nasty. All right. They're just overburdening you and they can lead to cytotoxicity. So you're losing your base pairs, telomere attrition. You're getting older faster. Like no dose is safe, no matter what they tell you. And it's genotoxicity, right? DNA damage, think cancer. And the symptoms like allergies, asthma that nearly killed me, testicular dysgenesis. I mean, you just can't make this shit up. It's incredible. So the goal, there's below in the caption there, not the caption, one of the comments, there's a place where you can put your name and email in to get this. And I'll send you out emails over the next 3 weeks to get all of this right, step by step, so you can learn at a better pace. And we give you worksheets. We show you how to do this, where to go, what to do. So if that sounds interesting, that's your first big step. Because a lot of times if I post stuff here on YouTube, they'll either censor it or turn down the volume. And it's just like, Jesus, man, what am I supposed to do? So if you like what you hear, drop a comment below, give this a like, share it, because that's going to help me reach more men. Because I'm sick and tired of men suffering out there. They've just got no clue that they can be optimal for life. You know, who wants to get to 70 and only have 4,000 base pairs left? You don't have a lot of life left to live. You know, you can trigger stem cell production that's repairing tissues and organs. You can trigger telomerase to lengthen your telomeres and give you more base pairs. I mean, you can test for this. This is very simple to do. So all I can tell you is that this is the very first step. You have to get rid of these chemicals because they're a big problem. And you could also have mold and heavy metal issues. Heavy metal. And that's very easy to fix, but it just takes a bit of time to get that. The last 4 men that I've tested, they have both mold and heavy metal issues, and it takes 6 to 12 months to slowly detox that. As I've learned from my team of experts, if you do it too fast, they come out too quickly and they can backfire. They can actually damage tissues and organs, including your brain. You've got to know what you're doing. That's why I've got a team behind me. So there it is. If you like what you hear, book a call or just put your name and email into that place in that comment below and just get into this system where I just email you out solutions week after week after week, because I'm here to get men back in the game.